Mortuary Files is presented in a question and answer format, featuring a retired licensed funeral director. This program explores the funeral service profession in depth, including funeral home practices, procedures, customer experiences, as well as real-world stories involving the families they serve. Some topics may be sensitive and may involve in-depth discussions of death, grief, and loss. Viewer discretion is advised.
And now, here are your hosts of Mortuary Files, Rick and Randy.
Hi, and I'm Rick. I was a funeral director for more than 35 years. I was also an embalmer crematory operator, and we're going to tell some stories today. And this is my big brother, Randy, right over here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Randy, and I am just a regular old Joe. I think I'll lay off on the harassing my brother today. We'll do it during the video. I got something to talk to him about during the video. All right, you ready to get right to the questions? Well, before we get to the questions, let me just say one thing, Rick, because you're gonna find this out at the same time the viewers are finding this out. We finally got Patreon up and running.
Oh, good.
And let me tell you the two tiers. So we have basically the first tier is basically the support tier. If you like what we're doing here and you want to support us and you want to help us grow this channel, $3. And what you get for that $3 is access to shows 1 week earlier than anybody else on YouTube will get them. And then if you want the VIP, now the VIP is only $6. All right, we want to keep everything really low price, a low price range on them. So it's $6. And if you want to help support the channel, $6. Now what you get for that is you get all the shows that we have. If we put up a show in 10 minutes right after, when this show goes live, when we put it up, it will be live on Patreon as well. You'll get it that day, even if YouTube doesn't show it for a month. You'll get it right then. You're also going to get things that we put up there to help you, to guide you with certain things, such as something we're working on right now. It's not up there just yet, but it will be, and it's called Mortuary Files. After Death, Your Final Plan. 25 legal ways to be laid to rest.
Be laid to rest, right?
So this is just 25 legal ways. We find different ways up there. We'll put different ways up there that we haven't thought about. We'll put them up there, and it just tells you the different, Rick is just going to tell them the different ways that they can be put to rest. Maybe they never thought. And in there is that we talked about a little bit in one of our other, in our first episode, or maybe it was our second, I think it was our second one, where we talked about cremation, and we talked about different ways. And I told you, but I was watching the thing about a water cremation now, and they talk about that right in there. So with that, anything you want to add?
No, let's get into it. I know you've got some questions planned.
I do, and we want to tell the viewers we want to thank the viewers for joining us, and don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, you bet. Thumbs up.
Comment. Leave us a message. You got any questions? This whole podcast is on their questions. Yeah. And we've got a couple already in the can, and we got a couple more that we're going to be doing. So send your questions along. Mm-hmm. In the description, there's the email address, mortuaryfiles@yahoo.com and mortuaryfiles@gmail.com. You can send it to us. I'll reply to them. I do most of the replying on it. And don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and go up to Patreon. Find us on Patreon. There's a link in the description for Patreon. We'd appreciate your support. All right, you ready to get going?
You bet.
All right, number one question. How do you handle a body that has been left alone for a long time?
Well, it depends on how long you mean by a long time. But if you're talking about somebody that's an unattended death that hasn't been found in weeks, let's say, that's a unique situation. It happens, but it kind of narrows down your options of what you can do. At a certain point, a body becomes embalmable, unviewable, and if it's going to be a burial, it will definitely be a closed casket. A lot of times, if it's been a really long time, they're a serious candidate for cremation.
Okay, so it just really depends on how long they've been there.
Really depends.
What the condition of the bodies. Now, you remember, I don't know if you remember my buddy Lou. He passed away 2002, I think it was.
I remember you talking about him. I don't think I ever met Lou.
Yeah, 2000. He passed away in the year of 2002. Mm-hmm. I had not heard from him for about a week. When they found him, they went to the apartment when I had called his mother and they not heard from him. I knocked on his door, nobody answered the door. I called his mother and then I went over and got the manager, and the manager went in and he had died of basically many causes, but it would had to do to a epileptic seizure he
Oh,
had.
yeah.
And he was in the summertime and he liked the cool weather, so his air conditioning was on super freeze.
Okay.
So which
That
basically,
helps.
yeah, would basically preserved his body, and he was cremated.
It would have been a totally different case if his air conditioner hadn't been on and it
Yeah,
was hot out. Uh, things go south in a big hurry after just a day or two and more when it's hot.
and he
Uh,
was laying right in front of the air conditioner. What is the strangest place you ever picked a body up from?
well, that leads right into that exact same question. I think I've told you this one before,
Yeah.
and it's exactly what you're talking about. This man had been in his trailer, and he was a hoarder, and he was an alcoholic.
You say trailer, you're
And
talking a mobile home.
I'm talking a mobile home, yeah. And when I arrived, he was way out in the country. And when I arrived there, I noticed that the police and the coroner and all the people, I don't know, everybody comes from all the other mobile homes to stand around and talk. It's like it's a show or something. There were 25 people out in the yard, but I noticed that nobody was in the trailer. And that's always a bad sign. When everybody's outside, nobody's inside. I know I got to get my special equipment on. I had to put my breathing apparatus on and I have some special overalls I used to wear. And they said, he's inside down the left. They just pointed. They didn't even go with us. And as I opened the door and about 30 beer cans fell out of the front door. And I think a pizza box or two, because his trash inside the trailer was probably 18 inches deep. He was living in his own filth.
You know,
And
I just thought about this while you were talking about. I will stop you for a second. This is a great story for Rick's Oddities.
yeah,
But
hey, Rick,
we're gonna give it a freebie. So there's stories like this for Rick Oddities. And of
yeah,
course, Rick Oddities will
this
be
actually is on the
available.
list for Rick's Oddities. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
and Rick
on that
Oddities
list.
will be available on a Patreon under the VIP. So go ahead, continue.
Well, the oddities part is the rest of the story. Do
Quit,
you want the whole
quit.
story now?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and let's do the story.
Okay, so as I began to go into his mobile home, we had to take a stretcher in with us. I had to walk through all this nastiness of trash that he had in his place. And as I took one step, I noticed all the cans they were stacked up, like I say, 18 inches deep, and the cans were moving. And I quickly realized that there was something underneath the cans that was moving the cans.
Were these
And
like
he
beer
didn't have
cans?
pets.
Were these
He
beer
didn't
cans?
have pets.
Beer cans or food cans?
Beer cans.
Beer cans.
And he had rats in the house with him. And he was in the kitchen, totally naked. He had crawled up underneath a sink and got most of his body up underneath the sink, and only his legs and his feet were sticking out. And he died in there.
So this was under the sink. So this was under the kitchen sink,
Yeah, under his kitchen sink. Yeah.
and like doors, like our normal house kitchen sink is kind of where we keep the kitchen chemicals,
Right. The doors were
for.
open and he crawled up under there for some reason. I think his, you know, I think kind of like had alcohol poisoning of the brain or something, didn't know what he was doing and was trying to hide from whatever and died up under there. And he was in bad condition, but his family insisted. They absolutely insisted. And the next day they came in to talk about it. And I tried to say, this is what his condition is. And I don't recommend, I didn't recommend them seeing him. They wanted to see him. And they said, oh no, we want to see him. We're going to have an open casket. We want to have a visitation. And they asked him to be embalmed. And I said, well, I don't believe he can be. His organ began to decompose and basically his venous system had begun to shut down. His circulatory system had just it didn't work anymore. There's nothing there. His blood was all dried up. And Anyway, it was awful. And we did embalm him the best we could, but we had to put a ton of makeup on him. He
No.
looked nothing like himself, but the family insisted on that. And I did my best to try to talk him out of it, but they wouldn't have it.
And when you got done embalming him, what was the family's reaction?
Believe it or not, they let everybody, all their friends and everybody else see him too. I really thought they were going to see him and just close the casket, and they didn't do that.
So they kept it open for whoever
Yeah,
wanted to visit.
yeah.
Three
Which,
day, 3 day funeral on
oh,
that one? 3 day funeral on
no,
that?
well, from the time that he was found, yeah. From the time I was at the house, it was 3 days till he was buried. Yeah,
Are most funerals 3 days?
2 or 3.
2 or 3?
Mhm.
Okay. So the next question is, today's world, a lot of people bring their pets everywhere with them.
Mhm.
And I'm not talking about service dogs. I'm
Yeah,
talking about pets.
right.
What's the weirdest pet that you ever run across at a funeral service?
Well, I don't I know we've had dogs and cats, and I'm trying to think if we've had any exotic stuff. No, I don't think I've had any really weird pets that I
No
remember.
one's brought goats there or sheep or snakes.
Nope,
No?
not for the to see the deceased or anything like that.
Boy, you just live a sheltered life there, Richard.
Not everybody has a lizard like you do, Randy.
All right, because you've met Topa.
Yeah, service
Not
dog.
that's my service dog. Not every pet is as calm and as trained as
Mhm.
Topa is.
Yeah.
What situations have you run across with pets? Anything
So basically,
strange
people
or
ask us if they can bring the dog in first, and it's usually a dog. Sometimes it's a cat. Normally, it's a dog. And every funeral home is going to be different. But our policy was as long as he's on a leash, as long as he's potty trained, and you bring him up to the casket and let him kind of realize what's going on. Dogs have a sixth sense; they kind of know anyway. But kind of let him see the person. But it's for like 10 or 15 minutes. It's not like for the whole service, unless it's a service dog. But there are some funeral homes that aren't going to allow a dog in. They might have just put $20,000 worth of carpeting in their funeral home. They don't want a dog in there bringing mud in or, you know, taking a dump on the carpet or something.
and that's not cheap carpet either, is it?
Well, it's commercial grade carpet.
Yeah. Not like they go to a box store and buy the $1.99 a foot carpet.
No, this carpet lasts for 5 or 10 years usually. Yeah, it's good
And I
stuff.
don't think if you visit a funeral home, you really want to be crawling around in that carpet anyways. Some of them look pretty grody.
Well, they've had a lot of shoes on them. They've had a lot of traffic. But they're vacuumed every day and, shampooed once a month and, that kind of thing. So,
Okay. Well, part of the upkeep of the
yeah,
building.
yeah.
Yeah.
Normally, if we have a request for a dog to come in, let's say, I'm going to ask the family to bring the dog in during their private time. Usually the family has some private time before the public comes in.
Oh, okay.
So bring the dog in when you come in for your private time and then allow them to see the person and then have somebody take the dog back home.
So, if was the owner of the pet who passed away, and you see a lot of videos on YouTube about it where someone is taking care of pets, they may have worked on a ranch and had horses, where they actually bring the person that's either dying and or dead to the animal, or the animal, if possible, if can't bring the animal in like a horse, bring the animal into the coffin, into the funeral, and then
Yep.
put the animal up to the person who's dead.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of something that did happen. I forgot about this. It wasn't at our funeral home. It was at it was a little girl who was about 12 years old, and she loved to ride horses. And the trainer for her horse brought the horse to the crematory, and the crematory had a chapel that had windows on both sides. And so while they were doing the committal portion of her service, her horse was out there with the trainer looking in the window while they were doing it.
So was the 12-year-old girl had passed away?
She did.
Okay.
My daughter's friend, yeah.
Okay. Because I know we were talking about it earlier about when our cousin died. Now you weren't up here for the service, but I went, Laura went, our sisters went. And then when they had the service, I think it was only a 1 day service. But when they had the service, Topa, my service dog, when I got up to go up to the coffin, she stopped 10 foot before the coffin and refused to go
Yeah.
anywhere near the coffin, you know. And I mean, just I can tell on Topa's face when she's worried. Her eyes just have this look about her. And I'd never seen that look on her as, ah, ooh, I mean, she just put her feet out in front and said, well, nope, nope, I'm not going any
Well,
closer.
their sense of smell is much greater than humans, and they can smell death. They can smell it before we do.
And when people usually bring their pets, they're usually, I know people run the realm, but they're usually pretty respectful.
Yeah, normally, and the reason you don't want to bring them during the main service, other than what we've already talked about, is there are people who are afraid of pets that aren't their pets. They just, especially if it's a big dog,
That's
they
why I
don't.
got to.
Especially if it's a pit bull or a Rottweiler or
I
a
don't. Well, I got a
Doberman.
Rottweiler. I don't have a pit bull. I got American Staffordshire, not a pit bull.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and I find that as
She's
well.
sweet.
So we'll go back to the home when you've gone. Cause how many home pickups have you done? Just tons, roughly, a lot,
Couple thousand.
couple thoughts from the home itself.
Mhm.
Okay, and you do that. What unusual things? What? Don't
Oh,
go there, Randy. What unusual? Now, this isn't about the
I'm
body
having
itself.
flashbacks, okay? Sorry.
What unusual things have you found in a home when picking up? In other words, you walk into a home to pick up a deceased person, and you walk in there. I don't know, maybe he's lived there for 50 years and there's no furniture in the home. What unusual thing has struck you?
It's usually the other way around. There's so much furniture you can't maneuver. So it's all about a sudden the funeral director becomes a furniture mover first. But I don't know what it is, and I don't know why people don't think about this. If you're in a two-story house, a two-level house that doesn't have an elevator, that just has stairs, and you're 400 pounds, have the courtesy to die downstairs.
We don't care. We don't care, Richard.
I did I did pick up a man that was upstairs and he was probably 400 pounds. He was in bed, and he had his remote control in his hand, still pointing at the TV. He has a stairway that goes, a hallway that goes like this, a 90-degree angle down to a landing, another 90-degree angle. Now, keep in mind, my cot is 7 feet long. That cot don't fit down a landing that's 4 by 4.
But you did
So
the
you have
best.
to lift this guy
Yeah,
up
you
over
did the
your
best you
head
could.
to, now he's 400 plus pounds. So the two people that I had with me, myself and one other, it was a young lady, we couldn't lift this guy. So we had to call the fire department. Thank God for the fire department. Holy cow, those guys bailed us out so many times.
I was going to say, so you have.
If you're a fireman, have ever come to a home to help a funeral director move, thank you, thank you. You bail us out. And of course, I've thanked them in person many
So
times.
you've had people help you from if you needed help. Do people are willing to help?
Usually, if there's a son there, they want to help.
Okay.
But if not, then the police department and the fire, not the policeman so much, but the fire department will come.
Okay. How many times have you been called to a house or a place where there's been more than one person that has been deceased?
I don't think I ever have.
Okay.
More than like maybe a murder suicide, that kind of thing.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you get
The chance of
so
two people dying at the same time is pretty rare.
okay. So I tell you a story. So when you go into a cemetery and you see the headstones, sometimes it's just the dates. They're born 1900, they died 1953. It's always interesting to me when I see someone who died say 1953, like I said before, and the husband died in 1953, the wife died in 1953, and then you do a little research on it and you find out about them, if there's anything to find out about it.
Mhm.
They both died on the same day. Well, then you automatically go to murder suicide
Or
and
accidental, like an
or
accident.
accidental death. So in Toledo, it was the winter time, and the wife, this was in the 1950s, and the wife went out and did some shopping. And while she was gone, the husband went out to shovel the snow, got done shoveling the snow. When he walked in the house, he was taking off his jacket and died of a massive heart attack. A couple hours later, the wife come home, and when the wife came home, she opened up the door and seen her husband laying on the floor, bent
Mhm.
over, realized he was dead, and then keeled over from a heart attack.
Now, I haven't had that happen, but I'll tell you what I have had is a lot of times people have been married a long time,
Yeah,
will die a couple of days apart.
yeah. Yeah.
Maybe the next day or the 2 days later. That's very common. And I have done double funerals where the man died on a Monday and the wife died on a Wednesday, and they actually had expected her to pass away first,
Mm.
but she didn't. So they said, just hold off because we think mom's only got a couple days. And sure enough, she did. And so we've had double funerals, but they died actually a day and a half apart.
I think that, at least from my observation, that when the wife dies first, the husband generally dies soon after, and soon can be relative. But when the husband dies first, the wife lives on and on. Look at my ex-wife's mother. Um,
They're
uh,
like, I've been waiting for this day.
yeah, my ex-wife's mother, her husband died in 2000. A couple years ago, she was doing everything in the world that you can do.
Yeah.
And of course, now they're treating her for Alzheimer's and taking care of her. But I mean, that's 25 years later. She lived behind. What did our mom live past dad? Dad went, what, 84?
Yeah, about 25 or 26
Yeah,
years, I think.
25, 26 years. Of course, our mother was also 18 years younger than our father.
Yeah.
Are there any special
By the way,
challenges?
they saved a little bit of money on that family, because they only had to pay for one chapel charge.
How much is a chapel charge?
I think ours was $500 or $595, something like that. Now that includes the staff to run the service, so to escort people in, seat the family, get the music going, videotape it if they need videotaping. And if you don't stand there and tell people where to sit, friends who haven't seen this person in 20 years
We'll
that
be
used
up
to
front.
live by him will come up and sit in the front row,
Yeah, yeah.
kind of
And
thing.
I always take one or two rows back, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, are any special challenges that you might have encountered in general while dealing with a sudden death?
Yeah, but that's a Rick's oddity story.
Okay, Rick's
Yeah,
oddity story. All right, well,
yeah,
we have our Rick's oddity for today already, don't we?
we do.
If you were able to get on the phone with that family, because you probably don't, I'm assuming that it's when you go there, you're not talking to anybody before you go there other than the authorities, correct? You're not talking to any family members before you go to pick a body
No,
up,
no,
are
no,
you?
not. It's usually either today, things have changed over the years, but today it'd be hospice that's calling
Okay.
uh, on behalf of the family.
So if you talked to a family member,
Mhm.
whatever the reason might have been, before you went to pick up a body, what would be the one or two things that you say to them?
One of the things I wish families would do is realize that I've never met this family. I don't know who the wife is or the children or the friends. I don't know who's who. So when I walk in, I have to kind of look at everybody and try to figure out, is this person married? Who's the next of kin? And I just wish the family would have one representative that kind of come up, hi, my name is such and such, and this is my mom, this is his wife over here, and introduce me to the wife, and then go from there.
Someone to take charge of at least
Yeah,
your
yeah,
at least your guidance going in.
right.
Okay. That was my 9 questions for this show, Rick.
Good deal.
It's time for Rick's Oddity. You got something for us today
I do.
that's
Is it story time?
it is story
You,
time.
you know what that means. We need some
Yeah, you
story
got it.
time music. We don't have that, do we?
Randy heard them over and over again. Now it's your turn to hear Rick's oddities.
You're gonna put that old
I'm
nasty
a,
hat. Have you ever
I'm
washed that hat? I think you had
this
that hat when you were 15 years old.
No, this was not. This was Pam's dad's hat.
Oh, okay.
This has never been worn at a funeral, but I think it kind of looks like a old timey funeral director. It's half a Abe Lincoln hat.
I'm gonna get Lori's hat on. It's got all her frills on one
No,
time when we do a Randy's.
I'm not doing that episode.
We need to do a Randy's oddity once.
All right. Well, we had a young boy that died. I think he was about 15. And of course, those are all always very sad funerals. And rightfully so. The parents, especially the mother, was just in the South here. It's called what she was tore up from the floor up. She just could barely breathe, could barely walk, had to be escorted everywhere. And I understand, and I would never want to have to live through that. At the end of the service, we went out, and he was going to be buried in a mausoleum. And he was placed in not buried, but he was placed in a mausoleum. And he was entombed. And about a week later, she came back and says, I have a favor to ask. I just need to see him again. So she said, I have to see him. I said, well, ma'am, I understand that you miss him, but he's already been entombed, and I take you out and I can get you a chair and you can sit. No, you don't understand. I want him taken out of the mausoleum. I want him brought back into the funeral home. I want the casket opened, and I want to see my boy. And I got the manager and we talked for a minute, and he says, well, it takes a while to do that. It's not instant. The cemetery crew has to do that, but we could set up a time this afternoon to do that. And we did. And she came back about 3 hours later. We disinterred this boy. And every time you have to get permission from the county to do this, you have to have a permit. She saw him. Everything was fine. Spent a couple hours. The next day, she came back in again. Wanted us to do it again. And she did that 4 more times. Finally, they said, lady, we're not doing this anymore. And we started, and for the last 2, we actually charged her. The first 2, we didn't even charge her. The last 2, we started charging her. And eventually, we just had to put our foot down and say no. But she refused to believe that he was gone and just couldn't deal with it.
All righty, everyone. Well, that's it for this episode of Mortuary Files. From Rick and myself, thank you very much, and we'll see all of you on the next one.
Don't you ever laugh as the hearse goes by, for you may be the next to die. They wrap you up in a big white sheet, from your head down to your feet. They put you in a big black box and cover you up with dirt and rocks. All goes well for about a week, until your coffin begins to leak. The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out. The worms play pinochle on your snout. They eat your eyes, they eat your nose. They eat the jelly between your toes. A big hungry worm with a rolling eye crawls in your stomach and out your eye. Your stomach turns a slimy green, and pus pours out like whipping cream. You spread it on a piece of bread, and that's what you eat when you are dead.